In episode 6 of The Penguin, we see that the underground business for the Bliss drug has been booming, apparently. So I'm guessing a few weeks have gone by. We see Victor coming in on a motorcycle, and he's holding a Glock now. So I guess Vic is out here doing big things. So next we see that the generator in the apartment in Crown Point isn't working, and Penguin and his mom and Vic are without power. Penguin's mother has a bit of a flashback and basically tells him that she'll get Rex to fix it if he can't get the power back on. Vic tries to soothe her and brings up Penguin's brothers, and Penguin tells him to never do that. So I guess it's a bit of a soft spot for him. I can't wait to see what actually happened to his brothers. Next, we see Sophia and Salvatore breaking into Penguin's apartment and looking for, I guess, any trace of someone that he cares about so they can get back at him. Salvatore is going off because, it seems like the Penguin isn't close to anyone. He basically tells Sophia he took everything from me and he's got nothing. Sophia ensures him that he'll get his revenge. She walks into his bedroom and looks into a drawer and finds a picture of Eve Carlo. I think someone's going to be getting a visit. So next we see Penguin confront this council member about him not responding to his letters. He informs him that the people in Crown Point have been without power for a while now, and he hasn't done anything about it, and this guy tries to bullshit him and basically tells him that it's a lot of red tape and there's nothing that he can do at the moment. So he takes pliers and squeeze his collagen in his nose. Oh gosh, that looked like it was super painful, but nonetheless the guy says he'll get it done. And it's a shame because it's just okay, he was bullshitting him all this time, right? But it's just the red tape wasn't an issue when it came to siphoning off the power to all the rich neighborhoods in Gotham. So it just shows you how much corruption is in the city. Nonetheless, Victor runs into Squid again, and he says he wants in on his drug game. He sees him with new shoes and money. He wants in and he wants to be this connect or whatever. So Victor basically tries to pay him off so he wouldn't ask those questions or want in with his connect. But Squid is hard-headed and basically bullies Victor, and Victor ends up shooting him in the alleyway. Which is interesting, but I knew that Squid was going to be a problem, so obviously he had to go, and Vic seems so torn up about it. I think this is his first time killing someone, so this is just a huge step for this character because I feel like it's just a dark path from here for Victor. He goes to the Penguin in their underground drug lair and basically tells him that it's been taken care of. The Penguin gives him a hug. It's clear that, he's aware that this was Victor's first time unaliving someone. So the Penguin comforts him, which I was just shocked at him doing, but clearly he has a soft spot for Vic. Sophia visits Eve Carlo, and she tells her that her girls are very loyal. They weren't trying to give her up, and Eve tells her girls looks out for her and she looks out for them. And basically they have a one-on-one, and they both realize that Oz is just a narcissist and full of shit and full of himself. Eve gives up his location to Sophia. After learning that the Penguin basically knew who killed all her former female associates. The Penguin brought this on himself. I don't blame Eve for basically ratting him out because that's just a dick move on his part. And I'm sure she cried on his shoulders many nights about her friends that were murdered one by one by Carmine Falcone. The Penguin meets with all the other bosses and basically wants to form a alliance to go against the Maronis and the Gigantes. Gives a wonderful speech about the corruption of Gotham and basically stating how all the higher-ups don't like each other, but they work together to basically screw over the little guy. It was a good speech. He got people on his side. Some people were hesitant, but I think they realized the big picture and everyone wants to come up. We cut to Victor and the Penguin's mother in the apartment, and it's cold, they're chatting, but the power suddenly comes on. She's happy. They start dancing with one another, and he tells her that, Oz did this for her. The power's back on, like he did it. They're celebrating, and lo and behold, guess who's watching them silently, like the predator she is? Miss Gigante. Sophia is just staring at them silently with a crowbar in her hand, and the episode fades to black. Man, that was a good cliffhanger. I like that we just, see progress within the characters. The writing, once again, stellar, visually on point with the other episodes. This was a solid episode. It wasn't too eventful, but I feel like after the events of last week's episode, you need a bit of a cool down episode that moves the story along, and it didn't feel like filler at all, because events happened, just not some major events. But boy oh boy, what is Sophia going to do? I'm just so curious. This cliffhanger left me wanting more. Overall, I rate this episode a solid B. We start this episode with a flashback, and we see that the penguin as a child seemed to be a bit jealous of his brothers. At least that's how I interpreted it. So he just was looking at them with a weird look on their faces. I don't know if it was because they can easily run around and he was dealing with his disability, but it's almost as if he was jealous that his mother was also giving them attention. She gives his brother the books that she was working on for Rex Calabrese, and they go off to go and give Rex the books. He gives him $50, and the older brother basically takes it and says they're going to give it to Ma. And next we see them basically go down into the old train tracks, where he runs his drug operation now in current day. They're playing, and they're basically walking through the tunnels, and the two brothers basically disappear, but Penguin finds them, and they basically climb deeper down into this tunnel, I guess, near the sewer, and the Penguin, obviously because of his disability, can't get down there. So he seems to get upset because he feels that it's unfair, and he locks them in this tunnel and tells them good luck getting out. And he walks his little jealous ass back home in the rain and tells his mother that they probably went to go and see a movie or something. This is so wild. I don't know if he thought that eventually they'll find their way out, but he's relaxing with his mom watching this Top Hat movie, and is feeling no kind of way about it. He wanted his mother's love all for himself, and this just seems so wicked and twisted. So we cut to current day, and the Penguin is walking up to the apartment complex and sees that the power is on, and is basically laughing and I guess giving himself props for getting the power back on. He walks up into the apartment and sees that the door is cracked. He pulls out his gun, walks into the apartment, and finds unconscious Victor on the floor with blood leaking from his head. Wakes him up quickly and seems to be relieved that he's alive, and tells him to get out and go rally up the troops. And he's gonna basically stand here and face Salvatore Maroni. Salvatore comes in, and he is hot, he is angry, and his men grab Penguin and make him get to his knees, and Salvatore basically beats him with a golf club. Tells him that he's not going to kill him right away, but he has something for him. He calls Sophia and lets her know that it's done. She smiles and basically tells him to keep him alive because she wants Oz to feel pain. He takes him to his underground drug operation and basically tells Penguin's workers that they work for this Maroni's and the Gigante family now. Penguin tells him he can have all this. However, he begins to taunt him by the smell of his burning wife and son's flesh. Maroni gets upset and begins to pick up an object to hit Penguin with, but one of his henchmen stops him, and one of Penguin's workers basically cuts out the light and creates a distraction, and next thing you know, it's an all-out brawl. Salvatore shoots at the Penguin and follows him, and next thing you know, they're fighting. And Salvatore basically gets a one-up on Penguin, but the Penguin's no chump. So they continue fighting, and all of a sudden, Salvatore has a heart attack. The Penguin gets up and basically can't believe it. And basically tells him, I beat you, I got you, you old fuck. And shoots him a few times to just, I guess, make sure he's dead. He brings his body out from the trailer that they were fighting in. We see Sophia making tea and toast, and she brings it into the Penguin's mother. And she basically questions her about Oz and tells her there's no way that he's just the way that he is. He has to be groomed to be this way. She also informs her that he told her that she was dead. And his mother simply responds, yeah, some people are easy marks. They talk about Oz for a bit, and his mother basically says that he's coming after her and he's going to put a bullet in her pretty little head and that she'll be tap dancing on her grave when it happens. Yo, Oz's mother is just like quite the character. So she basically asks her what happened to Oz's siblings, and it seems to take her back into that moment. Her hand begins to shake and she goes back into that moment, and she's talking to Rex Calabrese and says that it's cold and raining. She doesn't know where they are. They could be cold and alone. And Sophia empathizes with her, asks her if she knows where she is. And Oz's mother turns around and smacks the shit out of Sophia. I'm just surprised that she hasn't killed her already, but I think Sophia is just intrigued by her for whatever reason. She calls Salvatore Maroni. Oz picks up his phone and tells Sophia to take it in. That Salvatore is dead and she can have everything if she just brings her back. If she just brings him back his mother. She agrees to this. Next, we see a SUV pulling up and the Penguin's speaking with Sophia on the phone. And it's clear, I knew, like, based off the close-up shot that she wasn't in the car, she was somewhere else. And the Penguin is just standing there and he basically tells him, hey, we're going to sit here and like stare at each other all night. The driver of the car basically opens the door and runs out the opposite way. While Sophia is speaking with Penguin on the phone, she basically tells him she left a surprise for him. Has he found it yet? He slowly walks up behind the car and sees that it's a bomb. He quickly runs, didn't say anything to his men. The Penguin is just so self-centered and selfish. Like, he just could have yelled, run. Maybe they just could have gotten out of Dodge or something. But he just solely thinks of himself and runs down the same tunnel that he trapped his brothers in. This bomb goes off. And I swear it's just like military grade shit. So there's a a big hole in the ground in Crown Point. I don't know. I'm sure Batman has to know something by now. If this has gotten to Commissioner Gordon, I'm sure he's communicated something with Batman at this point. Next, we see the Penguin crawling out of the rubble. And I swear, this seems like it was like some 9/11 type imagery with, you know, the debris on everyone and just smoke everywhere. And the Penguin is just walking out and he stumbles across a guy that he thought was Vic, but it's not. And the drug addict that Sophia hired to get some intel on the mold that she didn't know, but that was the Penguin a few episodes back. He walks up to the Penguin and tells him that Sophia wants to see him and basically knocks him out. And the episode fades to black. So once again, another solid episode. I loved what Sophia did. She didn't walk into the trap. Obviously she still has his mother, but man, like, you're really starting to see the selfishness, I don't think Oz is a good person at all. Like, I just wish he would have at least yelled something to save his men, but you know, it didn't work out that way. But it was another solid episode. Like, each episode has just been hitting. I love the confrontation between Sophia and the Penguin's mom. I like the confrontation between Salvatore Maroni and the Penguin. Salvatore's ass was just too old to be carrying on like this, so I wasn't too shocked that he caught a heart attack while fighting the Penguin. And this final scene of just seeing the damage that was once again done to Crown Point, man, like Commissioner Gordon, someone has to be on this already. Solid writing once again. Visually, it was on point with the other episodes. I'm going to rate this episode a solid B+. We begin episode 8, basically seeing Vic arrive with the Penguin's allies at Crown Point. They pull up and he sees the big explosion that happened and sees that there's just like a big hole in the very center of his neighborhood. Penguin's allies are hesitant to approach because there are cops nearby, and Victor tries to give a little speech to basically encourage them to be loyal to Oz, but they back off and basically go their own way. The Vic is on his own at the moment. Next, we see that Sophia has gotten Penguin. He's tied up in the chair, and she also has his mother tied up in the chair, and she basically tries to get Oz to admit that he killed his brothers. She even goes so far into threatening to cut off his mother's finger if he didn't admit the truth. And Oz was so committed to keeping up this lie that his mother basically told him that she knew. She knew. And it was her finger that was being sacrificed. And it's like, you selfish prick. Like, I already know. And he was still holding on to this lie and trying to gaslight her and saying that she's not right in the head or she's confused. And she basically tells him that she had enough love for both of them and that he took her babies away from her, and she hates him. She breaks a bottle and basically like stabs him in the side of his stomach, and he's looking very hurt, like he just couldn't believe what she did. And Sophia seems to be getting her life. She basically pulled an intervention while looking fabulous, might I add. So the penguin's mother begins to envision her other children and suddenly passes out. The penguin gets up and manages to break away from his restraints, grabs a gun, shoots one of Sophia's men, and they're having a little shootout, and the penguin quickly picks up his mother, runs out, and shoots the drug dealer that she hired earlier in the head and rushes his mother to the hospital. He rushes his mom to the hospital. The emergency room takes her, and they tell him that he has to stay back for now. He goes into like a supply room and begins stitching himself up, which I do not understand. He is at a hospital. Why couldn't he just ask for help? I will never understand Oz. But Victor comes in and basically finds Penguin, and he's clearly down right now, and he lies about who stabbed him. When Victor asks what happened, he basically told him he couldn't rally up the troops. The Penguin tells him it's okay. He's a bit defeated right now, but the Victor basically encourages him and tells him that, hey, he gave people jobs in Crown Point. Like, he helped a lot of people. So he shouldn't give up now. The Penguin is encouraged and gives him a hug, and they both leave out of the hospital. Next thing you know, Sophia meets with the Penguin's, I guess, former allies now, and tell them that she's giving all this up. They can have it all, her businesses, everything, on one condition: whoever gets hurt the Penguin first, they'll have everything. So she basically puts a hit out on the Penguin. The Penguin and Victor come outside of the hospital, and the second in command to one of the other mob families basically tells him to come with him. Next, we see Sophia in this fabulous red get up, and she is in her father's bedroom. And the next thing you know, she has like all his suits and stuff in the bed, and she pulls all this liquor on it, lights 3 cigarettes, and begins to set the mansion on fire. Man, she is just, I guess, over it. Her family's caused her a bunch of pain, so why would she value any of this? She gets into a car, and she gets a call from one of the mobsters, and he basically tells her that they have the Penguin. She tells him that she'll meet him at a specific location where her private jet is located. He agrees. She pulls up, smiling, and basically Oz looks at her with a grin on his face, and I knew this was coming. Miss Gigante has been double-crossed. Victor and the Penguin's allies shoot her men that was with her and take out their former bosses. And the Penguin begins to drive her to an undisclosed location. He talks to her and says it's like old times. He says she doesn't understand what it's like to come from nothing. She looks at him and basically says, I don't understand. While looking out the window, she says, Oz, the man of the people. She seems to be so defeated that she's been double-crossed and that she can't basically take her getaway trip. Oz tells her to get out of the car at gunpoint and tells her to turn around. I thought this was going to be the end of my girl, but it turns out that it wasn't. He had a worse plan for her. I forgot about his little discussion with the council member earlier, basically framing her for everything that she's done and things that she hasn't done. So Sophia is basically taken by the cops and is put back in Arkham. Man, this sucks. I mean, this is probably worse than death for her. I feel so bad for my girl right now, but the Penguin got one up on her. Next, we see the Penguin back in the hospital with his mother and Vic. The nurse basically tells him that, she's in a coma. He yells and is upset and basically is on his knees crying and telling his mom to just tell him once that she's proud of him. Vic comforts him. The Penguin continues crying and basically said, I did it. Your son's the kingpin. I did it. But a girl is in a coma. The Penguin will never hear those words from her. Next, we see him and Victor outside, and basically the Penguin and Victor are once again bonding, and Victor is basking in his achievement. He's a kingpin. He's on top. Victor begins to express his gratitude and basically tells Oz that he's thankful for the opportunity and that he's like family. And I think that's where he went wrong. Suddenly the energy begins to shift, and the Penguin basically tells him the thing about family is that it's a weakness that I just can't afford to have. And he begins to choke the life out of Victor. I feel so bad for Victor. I wish he would have gotten on that bus a few episodes back with his high school sweetheart. But man, this was hard to watch. I was rooting for Victor to survive, but I guess he didn't. Next, we see Sophia in her cell, just looking totally depressed and out of it. Dr. Julius comes in, which I can't believe, but obviously he got his job back at Arkham. He gives her a letter in a black envelope and basically tells her it's from a lady named Selena. We got our Catwoman Easter egg, you guys. Sophia begins reading the letter, and the Catwoman's music is playing in the background. And she seems to be smiling, so I don't know what the letter said, and maybe she likes the idea that she has a half-sister out there in the world. But man, like, I wonder if we're gonna see Sophia and Catwoman work together in this next installment of the Batman. Only one can hope. Sophia's just too good of a character. We have to see more of her, and I'm dying to see more Selena. Next, we see the Penguin, and he's basically all dressed up, and he walks into a room, and his mother's basically on her hospital bed with an IV plugged into her, and she's looking out at Gotham, and it's just like, I did it, Ma. She's looking out, and basically a tear falls from her eye. She can't say anything, but I do remember earlier her telling him to just let her go. She didn't want to be a vegetable. Like, this is the very thing she didn't want. But the Penguin, being so selfish, he kept her this way. So, I mean, this is basically just torture for her, right? Stuck with a son that she hates. He then walks into another room, and next we see Eve Carlo dressed like his mother, speaking like his mother, and basically dancing with him. And he's basically telling her to tell me that you're proud of me. Tell me this, tell me that. And she's doing it. And I'm just like, man, Eve, sometimes you have to say no to the check. Sometimes it's just not worth it, sis. Like, this is weird. Like, the Penguin basically has some weird type of Oedipus fetish, I guess. So he's the kingpin. They're dancing, and the camera pans out into the window, and we see like his suite, but also see the rest of Gotham. And next thing you know, the bat signal cuts on, and the episode fades to black. I love this show. I just enjoyed like being back in the Matt Reeves Batman world. This finale was amazing. I wasn't expecting it to end the way that it did. Like, it kind of kept me guessing in a way. I legitimately thought like Vic was going to survive, but apparently he didn't. I feel so bad that their character is gone. But you know, I guess it solidified that the Penguin is truly like an evil, formidable Batman villain. He's the kingpin now. I think he has some political aspirations. Like, I can't wait to see where this goes and how he and the Batman interact in the Batman 2. Overall, I'm going to rate this episode a solid A. If you like this review, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.